Hello, everyone. Welcome to our new episode of Fempure Podcast Beyond the Stigma. Today, we will dive into a very important topic that intersects with health and workplace culture. For far too long, menstrual health and hygiene has been shrouded in secrecy and stigma at workplaces. But today, we are here to talk about the change, the real impactful change. Today, we are really excited to welcome Ms. Diana Nelson to our podcast. Ms. Diana is the Global Advocacy Director for at Days of Girl International, where she focuses on developing policy environments that support women, girls, and people who menstruate with the knowledge and products they need to manage their periods, including the establishment of washable standards and comprehensive menstrual health education. She also helped launch the South African Health and Hygiene Coalition and advocated to the Cambodian government to pilot menstrual health education in their national curriculum. She is also one of the leading period positive workplace initiative coalition member. Welcome, Diana, to our podcast.
Thank you so much.
We are so excited to have you on our podcast today.
I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.
Our audience would like to know about you and your work and the story behind Period Positive Workplace Initiative.
Great. Well, thank you. And thank you everyone who's listening and tuning in. We're so excited that you want to make a difference and that you can help change the narrative around menstruation. So right now I'm Diana Nelson. I just recently relocated to the United States. I have been living in sub-Saharan Africa for the last 8 years. I am the Global Advocacy Director for Days for Girls International. And Days for Girls International is a nonprofit organization who we're working to tackle the stigmas with menstruation around producing and manufacturing washable pads, menstrual health education, and then advocacy. And we believe in it being locally led because every culture has a different narrative and traditions around menstruation. And so we really know we have to have those champions in the community. And so in my work at Days for Girls, I had seen over time that a lot of people, governments, other organizations, businesses, didn't either understand the significance of how important it is to meet menstrual needs, or they wanted nothing to do with it because it seems in most cultures it's something that we should keep secret and it's shameful. And so I thought, how can we get businesses involved and governments? And what I found is I was in a meeting one time and someone from private sector came in. And when they said that they would pay attention to menstrual health, the government listened. And I thought, okay, we need private sector in these conversations because they have an impact in a way that maybe some of us can't. And so that's what started the period positive workplace. And so, but I needed data, right? Because data speaks. And so I've been thinking, we talk a lot about girls at school and the problems they have, but what about women at work? So the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, they looked at this exact question. If we provide supportive environments at work, does it have an impact on employees and employers? And you know what they found? It does. They found that for employees, they had increased loyalty, less turnover, less absenteeism, all because they had been provided with access to products and people understanding menstruation. For the employer, over time, they had over a 2-to-1 return on their investment, which means every dollar put in, the employer got back 2. So when we had that data, we're like, okay, let's go. Let's start the period positive workplace. We piloted it in the United States, and we knew we had something when Morgan Stanley, one of their regional offices, came on board. It was so well received. They took it to corporate. Corporate talked about it. And within a few months, all of Morgan Stanley worldwide was period positive certified. And that's when we're like, okay, private sector can work at such a fast pace and they can have such an impact. We need them. So that's when it was created. And that's the story behind it.
Great. So definitely when starting this initiative, all the coalition partners would have faced some challenges to advocate for menstrual health hygiene at the workplaces. So what were some of the initial challenges which your team faced when advocating for MHM products placement at the workplaces?
Yeah, thank you, Aisha. I think let me just back up for those that may be new to hearing about this. Just very quickly, the period positive workplace was the initiative was created to help private sector and businesses come into this conversation in a way that was comfortable, and help them think about what's happening in my own workspace. And so that to be a part of that, there's just three things: provide access to products for your employees, have a wash facility or a restroom where you can manage your periods with dignity, with safety, with privacy, with running water, and then announce to your employees that this is an initiative that's here to stay. And so when we first started it, I would say the first barrier was just people being able to talk about periods. It's typically something we don't talk about, and it feels really uncomfortable. And so I think the initial barrier was, how do you talk about this where there's not embarrassment? And so as we tackled that and we began to create our graphics and things that made it very sleek, very professional. We really talked about this is something normal. It happens to almost half the population. As we normalized it, that removed that barrier. And then I think also one thing, a barrier, was people really didn't understand what it's like for women who menstruate to manage that at work. They were unaware of a lot of the needs. And we even found, Aisha, that some people thought a period was something like a bloody nose, like going to the bathroom where, oh, I can just hold it a little bit longer. And so we had to let them know, no, 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 no. It's like a bloody nose. You can't just hold it. It's coming no matter what. And so some of those barriers were just creating accurate information, having it be normalizing it, and then I think making it very easy for businesses to do. Very clear steps. Businesses are busy like everyone. They don't want to do a lot. They want the highest return on what they're going to do. So we had very clear outlines of this is what you need to do. And again, I want to stress this is a first step. We hope they'll do more. So I hope that answers that question.
Uh, okay, our audience would also like to know what specific strategies is Period Positive Workplace Initiative doing to break the stigma at workplaces and advance menstrual equity at workplaces, apart from the product placement advocacy?
Great, great. There's two things that we're doing, I would say. The first is every business that signs up and is certified, they have an opportunity to have a free webinar, a free discussion that's 30 minutes, where we help them see there's so much more than product that is involved in managing and creating a supportive menstrual environment. It's pain management. There's a lot of things that need to be better understood. So we do a webinar. The second thing I would say are our coalition partners like Syntax. They are on the ground understanding the needs and can go into businesses and actually talk to them and help answer questions for them. And so I think those are the two strategies we have. We hope that this is a first step and that through webinars, they get more information. Businesses also get a newsletter where we constantly put new research. We put articles that are pertaining to menstruation in the workplace where they can keep learning. One other thing that we've done is we have collected data on the Period Positive Workplace Initiative. So we can actually say, this is what employers and employees are saying about the Period Positive Workplace. So they can see the impact it's having, this initiative, data on that.
So what future plans does PPW has to continue breaking the stigma at workplaces?
That's such a good question. And we're actually in discussion with that now. The period positive workplace has been around almost a year and a half. It's organically growing. We're up to almost 200 organizations worldwide in 42 countries. The next steps I think that we're looking at is how do we help businesses once they've taken this first step, they feel comfortable talking about menstruation, they recognize there's a need, just like they provide toilet paper, we need to be considering providing products for our employees. But what next? What does that look like? And how can we support them to think about other ways that they can create supportive environments? And so that's what our goals are. On how can we grow that and look to our coalition partners to help us with that. So as far as specific strategic points, I can't share that now. We're developing it. But no, we are looking on how do we help businesses lean in more when this isn't an area of expertise, but they're seeing that by just becoming certified, it's having such a positive impact. How can we help provide resources for them or provide point them to experts who could help them go to the next level with that?
Okay, Diana, any message you would like to give to our audience regarding menstrual health and hygiene? Any message regarding breaking the stigma at workplaces?
Yeah, I would. I think in the world, there's so many complex problems right now. We see it whether it's food, homelessness, inflation, job security. Those are a lot of really, really difficult problems. Menstrual health is a problem now, but it's one we can fix. As we talk about it, as we provide education and access to product, we can change this problem. And so the fact that you're listening to this webinar, this podcast, the fact that you are either signed up and certified as a period positive workplace or you're considering it, you're helping make a difference. Every conversation we have about this, we're removing that stigma and making it better for your daughters, your sisters, your aunts, your nieces, whoever, to manage this and not have it be a barrier. You are part of a solution to creating gender equality. And one of the things I would add is we're seeing in the world this becoming more and more recognized. We've seen the Canada government make it mandated that in all their federally regulated buildings, they must provide access to period products. We're seeing in the United States, universities, schools providing it. So I would like to say, if you're already doing this without being mandated, you're doing it because it's the right thing to do. You're setting the example, you're leading the way, telling your employees and having these conversations that we recognize this is something we need to address. So I just want to thank you for your interest, and know having a conversation about it, addressing it in the workplace will pay dividends. We know that both quantitatively and qualitatively. So I just want to thank you for being a part of changing this barrier that does not need to be a barrier, so that when your daughters and nieces, like I said, come forward, this will be something they won't have to deal with because you were a part of the solution.
If there's one takeaway from today's podcast, it is that menstrual health should never be a taboo topic, especially at the workplace. And we all have a role to play in breaking down these stigmas, as Diana said, and fostering inclusive spaces that empower all the menstruators to thrive no matter where they are in their menstrual cycle. And that brings us today to the end of today's episode of this podcast. A very big thank you to Miss Diana for sharing her insights and experiences in pioneering the period positive workplace initiative. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I just want to thank Syntex for all the outstanding work they're doing. They are changing the narrative about menstruation throughout Pakistan, and we're so grateful for your partnership. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Diana. Thank you again for tuning into this episode. Until next time, let's keep breaking the stigma and building a world where menstrual health is openly discussed, supported, and celebrated. Thank you so much.